enjoy the rest of your day on the Pixar Pier. Okay, who's next? Who's the next lucky kid to meet me, the Screenslaver? Hello there. What's your name?
It doesn't matter what my name is. The only thing that matters right now is you. You are the man of the hour. Or should I say, woman?
Sir, are you drunk? I know that Disney has just started selling alcohol everywhere, but come on, man. There's children present. Have some decency.
Oh, I assure you, Mrs. Slaver, I have not exceeded the acceptable limit. I am right at the appropriate amount. But if you identify as a man, then who am I to judge?
Sir, do I really have to explain to you that I am not the Screenslaver?
I had you going there, didn't I? I know you're not the actual Screenslaver.
Oh, thank God. I thought for sure I would have to report a schizophrenic psychopath on the premises.
Yeah, I'm not stupid. I know for a fact that Eveline DeVore would not put on the mask herself. She would get someone else to do it for her. Eveline DeVore, sister of Winston DeVore, the guy that everyone thought was the villain of this movie. But I knew that was too obvious. I mean, come on, Jesus Christ. It's Bob Odenkirk we're talking about here. That would have been way too obvious. Granted, it is also kind of predictable that it wound up being you, Eveline. You were the one who was the technological genius, and that's what would be required to pull off what the Screenslaver did.
Then why do you keep calling me Eveline?
Because Eveline is controlling you, dummy. She's your puppeteer, pulling the strings, hypnotizing you. She's hypnotizing you right now, and you don't even know it. But I bet she can see me through some kind of GoPro that you probably have on your person.
Okay, first of all, The Incredibles ambiguously live in the 1960s, so there is no GoPro. And second of all, I'm not being controlled.
Well, of course, a victim of the Screenslaver wouldn't know they're being controlled. That's the whole point. Just like that poor pizza man. Oh, that pizza man didn't deserve that. But I assume he probably got out of that okay.
Okay, I think your time is up. I need to move on to the next kid.
Oh, but I'm not done. It's just that I tried contacting you a different way to be on my show post-defeat, because now I'm the one who does the bite-sized editions. But for some reason I couldn't get a hold of you, so instead I decided to speak to one of your vessels.
Did you even see the movie? She got arrested. Plain and simple.
Oh, but didn't you hear what Violet said? She's so rich, she could just pay her way out of prison. That was a really surprisingly adult moment right there. The realization that could happen. I mean, granted, it's not really that new of a thing to think about. And at first, I was disappointed that we did not get another surprisingly gruesome death like last time with Syndrome. But that poignancy nearly made up for it. just this harshly realistic outlook on how things go on in the real world just being implemented into this kids movie. That almost makes up for no gruesome death this time around.
Well, I'm sorry that the sequel couldn't be as dark as the original.
Well, it tried to get up there, what with Evelyn's traumatic backstory, the death of her father. I mean, that right there, the unapologetic detail of that flashback, that really was poignant also, but it definitely doesn't compare to the revelation of Syndrome being a frickin' serial killer, experimenting each robot on a famous superhero, picking them off one by one until he got the perfect murder machine.
Listen, Evelyn is not controlling me. The only thing that's controlling me is Disney, okay? I work for Disney at one of their theme parks because that's the only job I can get with a acting diploma. No matter how many auditions I try, none of them come through.
Wow. Evelyn, can I just take some more moments to just admire how genius it was for you to use a pawn instead of yourself? I mean, it's surprising that not that many other villains think about that. Well, other than Aldrich Killian, of course, but hardly anyone ever admires the genius of his tactics, because unfortunately he had to choose the Mandarin as his pawn. Yeah, I can see why that would have been a problem. If he had chosen a more obscure Iron Man villain, then people would have been fine with the revelation that he was behind the whole thing. But since it was the Mandarin, a villain that everyone was waiting for a whole trilogy, I could see why everyone would hate that reveal. But with you, on the other hand, Screenslaver was made up. This wasn't a pre-established character who actually had a fan base. This was a newly created IP.
I don't even like the Screenslaver. That was such a disappointing reveal.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you compare Screenslaver to Syndrome, then of course you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment. Nothing can compare to Syndrome. He was practically the best possible type of satirical supervillain you could ever ask for in a deconstruction of supervillains. He was a fanboy, he was a cosplayer, he was a collector. I mean, he was practically a caricature of the most toxic type of superhero fan. You can't just strike lightning in a bottle twice. You've gotta do something completely different. And the most unexpected thing you could possibly do is not even do a supervillain at all. Just not. Just do a regular person who doesn't even like superheroes or supervillains. Someone who thinks that it's all niche, all a waste of time, and so of course they wouldn't embrace it. They wouldn't wear an actual supervillain costume. Instead, they would just make you think that there's a supervillain on the loose. But how deliciously ironic is it that by doing that, you become the supervillain? And another way to be the complete opposite of Syndrome is just be completely subtle about the whole thing. Just monotone, just really stoic, because you're not trying to be a supervillain. You're not embracing it. You're not just hamming it up like Syndrome was. You're not enjoying being a supervillain, having an evil laughter and whatnot. You're just straight to the business, and that's it. I mean, I know Yokai from Big Hero 6 was that way. We didn't get enough of his personality. Whereas Eveline manages to still convey her personality through it. Her control freakishness, her conceitedness, her utter insistence that she is the smartest one in the room. I mean, did I want Syndrome to come back in any sort of shape or form? Kind of. At least a mention would have been nice. Just a little reference to his existence. But no. I can see why we needed to move on.
Oh, so you think it's genius that Eveline did not embrace the supervillain persona, even though her outfit looks pretty supervillainy to me? I mean, who the hell would just casually wear neon?
Oh, I don't know, maybe she was just gonna go to a rave after she was done making sure that all superheroes were illegal. By the way, that's another thing. You've made me realize that this franchise is perhaps the most realistic when it comes to superheroes living in the real world. I mean, you wouldn't immediately think that because this is a cartoon, so you would naturally just think, this is one of the more fantastical superhero flicks because it's animated. But no, you've made me realize that you've thrown people off by being animated. They don't immediately realize that this is one of the more realistic takes, because there's so much emphasis on the legalities behind superheroes. All of the things that go behind the paperwork of the legalization of heroes, and once you do a superhero registration act, of course there would be a whole lot of rigmarole to undo that. You can't just save a whole city and immediately assume that that means everything's gonna be hunky-dory for superheroes now. No, there's work to be done for that. It has to go through the legal system, and there has to be more examples of why we need superheroes back. And I'm glad that you guys did not lose sight of that fact. You embraced it, even more than the last movie. It would have been real easy to just forget about all that and just be all superhero for the sake of superheroes. But no, you wanted to get down to the nitty-gritty of why superheroes should be back, and the criticisms of them. That whole monologue about how the world doesn't need superheroes was pure genius. It was a criticism on superhero fans in general. You already did the whole caricature last movie, so this time you're being more blunt about it, telling those fans that they cannot just live in this fantasy, that they can't just wait for a superhero to save them, they've gotta do it themselves. And at first you could think like, oh, this film is being cynical about superhero fans. They think that superhero fans are delusional. But no, I don't think that's what's happening here. I think that you know that superhero fans know that they won't be saved by a superhero. I think that this time you're criticizing the people criticizing the superhero fans. Because the anti-superhero people, they're the ones who are generalizing the superhero fans, thinking that they're all delusional, that they worship superheroes. And the truth is, most of them don't. They just like the things. They know that they've got to make their own magic happen for themselves. They know that they can't rely on superpowers. That's not why they like these characters. They don't like the characters for the superpowers. They like them because they're still human. despite the superpowers. They're still relatable despite the superpowers. They enjoy what makes up that person's personality, the way they handle their superpowers. That's what they admire. And so, to follow up on last time, where we had the embodiment of the worst of superhero fans, this time around, we have the embodiment of the worst of superhero haters.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure you're gonna sway those superhero haters by making fun of them.
Oh, but that's just it. The best supervillains are the ones where you realize that you agree with them on certain aspects. And I do admit there are some people who do live in this fantasy where they don't want to live in the real world. And so maybe this could get through to those people, that there should be a balance between consuming entertainment and having an actual life. But not every superhero fan needs to be told that. But it is important to still remind the ones that do need that telling. So if you can hear me or see me, Eveline, thank you. No one would expect all of that insight from an animated movie. And isn't that a shame? People think that animated movies are just for kids, when in reality, they can be even more insightful than the live-action films.
There's no point in trying to talk some sense into you. You're just gonna keep going. So, I guess I'll just humor you. Yes, I'm being controlled by Eveline.
Oh, well, I'm glad you finally accepted your situation.
Yes, I am a puppet. Oh, well, actually I am a puppet now that I think about it. Oh, God. So, is there anything else you want to praise me for? I mean, praise Eveline for? She's listening right now. You're on speaker.
Well, if there's anything else I wanted to praise her for, it's the aspect of pure horror. Yes, even though you didn't manage to get as dark as Syndrome, you still managed to attain a particular aspect that Syndrome never quite got. Pure terror. Pure horror. It's been a long time since I was legitimately scared in a PG kids movie. I mean, there was pure horror in those scenes where Elastigirl was searching for Screenslaver. And that moment where she was on the door and you saw Screenslaver peek from the shadows. Oh, pure eeriness. Pure atmosphere. It was just so great.
Oh, is there anything else you want to salivate over? Like the use of strobe lights? Because I think you would be in the minority for that one.
Oh yeah, the strobe lights. Very controversial scene. A lot of people got epileptic shock over that. Yeah, that's serious business. That's no laughing matter. But even though I don't have that condition where I would get a seizure over that, I do have to admit that even, it's really bad that had to happen to a lot of people, and it's really unfortunate that their movie experience was ruined by those moments. Speaking from personal experience, from my personal experience watching it, I actually kind of liked that. Not to be insensitive over the people who did have the seizures. It's just that I felt like that enhanced the horror aspect of the whole thing. Just the whole sense of dread. You know, experiencing the dread with her firsthand. So personally, I felt like it was enhancing the experience. But I can understand why it's still an aspect that needs to be criticized. I really do. I don't want anyone to have to throw up just because they saw a kids movie. That is unfair. But speaking personally, I liked it personally. But that's my own personal opinion on those scenes.
Well, I'm glad for your consideration. But guess what? Security is here to take your ass out!
So, this is the guy who's been bothering you.
Yes, get him the hell out of here! There's a whole line of impatient kids who just want to meet Screenslaver, and this middle-aged moron is fucking it all up for them!
Oh, you cursed at Disneyland!
Yeah, we have no toleration for that kind of language. Only the Emperor of Disney can do that. Get out of here. Oh, wait, what? No, I need this to pay the rent. Living in California is fucking awful. Sorry about that, Mr. Blob. That type of profanity is strictly prohibited here at Disney.
Well, I mean, you could have just slapped him on the wrist. I do feel like you were a little bit hard on him.
I'm just doing my job, upholding the Disney law.
That's really weird coming from you. Aren't you Deathstroke, Mr. Slade Wilson Deathstroke, the Terminator?
Yeah, I'm Deathstroke, formerly Australian, but now I'm American.
Yeah, Deathstroke. You're a DC character. What are you doing working for Disney? Isn't your loyalty supposed to be with Warner Brothers?
It was, until they betrayed me.
Oh, what did they do? Did they decide to cancel your movie appearances? I mean, you frickin' set that up in the Justice League teaser. Why would you not pay that off?
I would have gone either way with that. But that's not why I quit. I quit because they made a joke out of me.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I sure as hell know.
Well, I'm just glad you're not gonna give that piece of shit the same treatment like you did with Screenslaver.
What? You mean coming all the way down to its theme park just to meet him face to face and have an in-depth interview? Well, if I didn't do that with this other animated supervillain of the summer of 2018, then what kind of interviewer would I be?
Well, fine then. Go! See if I care.
No. You have to come with me. Now let's do some park hopping.